Okay, I think we can slowly get started. And if someone still joins, I can just admit them as we go. So hi to everyone. My name is Elo, and I will be your moderator today. I am from NGI Tetra, and in my everyday life, I work in a company called Civita, and I work with writing and managing innovation projects and working with different startups. And today we are here to have our third webinar of the Public Funding Masterclass, and we are going to talk about tenders and tendering today. Before we get started with that, I would just like to say that the previous webinars have been recorded, and a lot of you have written to me and asked if you can get access to the recordings if you didn't make it. So currently our first webinar has already been uploaded to the NGI Tetra website, and the recording of the second webinar will also make it there today, tomorrow, or latest by Monday. And this webinar as well will be recorded and added to our webpage. So if you didn't manage to make it to the first one or the second one, you can watch them later and still get all the information. So first, a little bit about the NGI Tetra. For those who don't know yet. So NGI Tetra is the business accelerator for the NGI beneficiaries. And we have already been running almost 3 years. We are gonna be finishing this year already in a couple of months. So we are still doing some events for the period of March to May to bring some more impact to the NGI community. And in these 3 years, we have been doing trainings, mentoring, and boot camps. We have had 4 boot camps. We have had 100 hours of mentoring have been done on different kinds of topics and subjects. And we really hope that NGI Tetra has been beneficial for all of you. And what is still upcoming before we finish? So in March, we are running the Public Funding Masterclass, which is a series of 5 webinars and one-to-one mentoring for all the NGI participants. For those of you who are here from outside of NGI, you can participate at the webinars, but unfortunately the mentoring is only accessible for the NGI. So today we are having the webinar number 3. We have already finished with the understanding public funding options and the EIC accelerator. Next week, in the same time, on Thursday at 3 o'clock, we are having a webinar on cascade funding, and we are finishing the series with the Horizon Europe. And then after the series, we will be doing the one-on-one mentoring. The mentoring will take place in April, and you should already have received the emails from our partner startup division, who is organizing the mentoring from our side. So if you haven't received that email, please let me know and I will talk to them. And it's okay to already book a mentoring slot there if you already know what kind of topic you are most interested in. If you don't know yet, you can still wait because everyone is allowed 2 to 3 hours of personal mentoring. Yeah, so I think that's it from me. And I will hand it over to our speakers today, and I wish everyone a good webinar.
Thank you, Elo.
Thank you all very much, and hi everyone. I'm Robert Miskov. I salute you from today a bit cloudy Bergamo, Italy. I'm a CEO of Pedal Consulting, the innovation consultancy company headquartered in Slovakia. I'm here today with my dear colleague and friend Innocent Mateka. Maybe you can introduce yourself, Innocent, while I'm going to upload the slides.
Sure, my name, but thanks. My name is Innocent Mateka. I'm the Chief Development Officer at Pedal Consulting. And what we're actually going to go through with you is what Robert and I practice on a daily basis. So it is really interesting to go at it with you. So over to you, Robert.
Yes, thank you very much. Maybe some of you already participated in the previous sessions. They were briefly presented by Elo, my colleague from Tetra project. If you missed them, no worries. As already mentioned, you can see them also online. Today's session is a little bit different because we're going to be talking about tenders, and we'll be also explaining what is the main difference between the grant, which is the substance of the entire masterclass, and also tenders. So that's why I'd like to maybe pay attention and look at the facts or tricks that we will be presenting today, experiences that we'll be presenting today through these optics of tenders, not grants. Maybe to set the scene and to have a good start, we will present you very quickly a short video about our flagship service, which is available to also to you. We will mention more information about it later. It's a platform called Tenderio, and the main objective is to help small, medium enterprises, startups, but also large companies. We have also subscribers from research sector that are located in country A, and the objective is to help them to get contracts in country B. How do we do that? You can see in this video.
This is Tom. Tom owns a painting company and wants to enter new international markets. But there's a problem.
We're not seeing the video.
You don't see the video?
No.
Okay, let me try again. Sorry for that.
Yeah, we just saw your slides.
Ah, okay,
For
okay.
some reason.
Thanks for saying so. I'll play it again. Is
yes.
it better now?
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
This is Tom. Tom owns a painting company and wants to enter new international markets. But there is a problem. Tom speaks only English and doesn't know where to search for new business opportunities. He doesn't know anyone abroad and has no clue who his competitors are, nor under which conditions they are selling. Meet Mary, who doesn't suffer any of these issues. She is a large furniture manufacturer with a dedicated team constantly looking for new customers abroad. But lately, her sales figures have gone the wrong way. Mary finds that attracting new customers is too expensive, and it has become ever more challenging to identify new deals. Luckily, they both came through Tenderio, the one-stop place for public tenders. On Tenderio, they simply entered a keyword describing their product and immediately found out which institutions wanted to buy it in various countries. Right after, Tenderio also introduced them to local partners who helped them to crack linguistic and legal challenges and assisted them to prepare their bid. On Tenderio, they found out who their potential competitors are and what was the size of similar contracts in the past, helping them to fine-tune their financial offer. Thanks to Tenderio, Tom and Mary are now automatically alerted whenever there's a new relevant business opportunity published anywhere in the world. Tenderio. Identify your tender, team up with partners, and bid.
Okay. So
managing your projects should feel more like this.
Stop sharing. So I think you can get the taste of what our flagship service is. And the reason why we are showing it is that we still have some seats left for NGI beneficiaries who are interested to benefit from the subscription of 6 months. All you need to do is just fill in a short application form that will be made available also throughout this presentation and after this presentation. And you'll be shortly contacted for further information. So now going back to our slide deck, Innocent, can you see it properly?
Yes, please, I can see it.
Okay, so let's get right into it. So very quickly about our company. We've been established in 2010. This means we've been around now for 12 years. We're just entering our teenage era. Hopefully it won't be too much of turbulent times for us. When it comes to the portfolio of projects, we currently have now over 50 contracts with especially public institutions. So most of our clients are from EU arena, so therefore European Commission or EU agencies. But we also have contracts with the US government through USAID program or investment banks, international investment banks, and other international institutions. What we also mentioned when making a presentation is that we are the leading performer when it comes to number of approved projects, grants under Horizon 2020 and COSME program. And in the same sentence, I always add, we are also unofficially the leading performer in the number of rejected proposals, because it just simply goes hand in hand. And this applies in our country, Slovakia. We are number 5 in Central Europe, I believe. So failure is indeed a very important part of this game. What's happening today? What did we prepare for you? Actually, each and every point on this in this table of content is a separate training on its own. But for the sake of giving you the overall picture, we decided to choose the most important, most relevant bits and pieces from these training sessions and embed them into this one single master course that we will be presenting you today. So firstly, we will briefly give you a quick introduction that will be with Innocent, my colleague, and then we will really once and forever explain the difference between tenders and grants, because most of our clients or partners that we interact with, they have a mishmash when it comes to this terminology. So we'll make it clear what are the substantial differences between the two. We'll also cover the international versus national dimension, and then we get into the really core business, which is how to identify the right opportunity, how to build a strong consortium, how to write the competitive offer. And then we also selected some lessons learned and really validated strategies on how to eventually secure a tender outside of the country where your company resides. We will be ending with some hints and tips on how to win the public contest. And for sure, there are Q&A session waiting for us. But in order to make it interactive, I would say feel free to jump in and ask anything that is not clear or you would like to comment. Also during the presentation, I trust that my colleague Elo will be looking at the chat group, and if there is a pertinent question, we're happy to take it straight away. This being said, let's get right into it. Innocent, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Robert. So while we were developing Tenderio, we did some ground research, and then we found out that over 2,500 billion euros are spent on the procurement of products and services every year by European public bodies. So this comes from the European Commission, Parliament, down to municipalities and regions. And this is reflective of over 14% of Europe's GDP. And globally, we found out that the contribution of public procurement to the global GDP is between 15 to 20%. Robert? But then we realized that at the same time, with having this huge or massive opportunity out there, we realize that only 25% of the contracts are awarded with only one bidder, and this is very common. And then we also realize that most of the public tenders only receive between 2 to 4 offers per public notice to receive bids. And then we also realize that over 10,000 tenders are cancelled each year because there are no offers that are received. So once they are cancelled, then they're republished such that they can be able to award a specific opportunity to a person through a competitive process. And we also realize that just a meager 1.26% of all European SMEs participate in cross-border public procurement. Over to the next slide, Robert. So we realize this huge opportunity, that this is a huge opportunity, but then you may ask yourself, if this is an extremely huge opportunity, why don't SMEs participate in taking advantage of this huge opportunity? We realize that, next slide, Robert. We realize that there is very limited knowledge about what's available, in the sense that, not every SME, especially in Europe, is knowledgeable about the different contracting authorities that are looking for the services that they offer in different parts of Europe. So if we have an SME in Slovakia, they are not knowledgeable of the fact that there may be a contracting authority or company in Brussels that is actually looking for the services that the company in Slovakia does offer. So this brings in a situation whereby very few people actually participate in the tendering process. And then there is also limited knowledge about the understanding of the bidding process, because as you shall see later on in the presentation, the local or regional rules or different company rules are attached to tendering processes for each and every organization. So lack of good understanding of these processes also affect also one of the reasons as to why very many SMEs miss this opportunity. And then lastly, sometimes it's all about attitude, whereby SMEs within their locality feel that they do not stand a chance to compete favorably with other SMEs from the country from where the specific opportunity has been published or publicized. Yeah, next slide, Robert.
Yes, thank you very much. So that was just introduction to make you aware that there is a very strong demand side from the public sector. We see that on many occasions, of course, there are very competitive sectors, but still the numbers are suggesting that even there are 20 million plus SMEs just in Europe that are by default aiming to make a profit to survive. Still, there are a lot of tenders unattended or with very limited offers that are receiving. So this is clearly a huge opportunity. We've seen this gap, and also through these courses, we would like to increase capacities of potential bidders so that you can get acquainted with the opportunities out there, and most importantly, profit from them. So what's the difference between tenders and grants? Well, of course, these slides will be shared with all of you. I will maybe mention three main ones. First of all, when we look at the tender side, donor, normally the public authority in this case, traditionally knows exactly what they want to buy, what they want to purchase. Normally it's either product, service, or work. This is how it is classified through the taxonomy. Now we have a new, let's say, phenomenon or concept trend called PPI, Public Procurement of Innovation, or pre-commercial procurement. But let's set that aside. And while on the grant side, usually the, let's say, European Commission or the donor identified the problem, but they are asking the potential bidders to actually come up with the original solution. So while in the tenders, long story short, they get the same offers with different price tags. Of course, I'm a little bit exaggerating here. In grants world, they could actually get completely different solutions or proposals to the problem that is in the question. That's the first big one. The second one is, of course, the profit. When we go to tenders, there is comfortable room for margins. As mentioned before, whatever price you propose and it is approved, you can make a profit, and life goes on. That is not, unfortunately, the case in grants. The best case scenario is that your idea, your proposal, your services or products are 100% co-financed. But in many cases, you will actually need to also partially open up your own wallet and contribute your own money in order to sustain and deliver the desired outcome. Maybe the last one I would like to mention here on this slide is indeed the ownership. Now, this applies, don't quote me, in 99% of cases. Whatever you deliver or whatever the outcome is in the tenders world, normally it is the IP or the ownership of the purchasing body, so let's say the public authority. Whereas in grants, the final outcome is normally IPR the supplier, so the consortium or the implementing team. That would be probably the three major differences. So hopefully it will be clear, and also it will help you to somehow filter the opportunities also through these lenses. What is the process? We have now talked to really over 1,000 SMEs that tried successfully or not successfully bidding for opportunities, and we identified, let's say, a pathway or the process that is composed of the bubbles that you see here on this slide. And it is essentially boiled down into the identification. That's the very first component. Before we do anything else, we just need to find the right opportunity, either call for proposals on the grant side, or call for tenders, RFPs, requests for proposals, or on the tender side. So tenders are sometimes called, especially in international organizations, or in let's say US government, they call it RFPs, so request for proposal. Of course, it's not enough to identify the opportunity. If the deadline is, let's say, 1 week from now, there's normally not enough time to prepare a competitive offer. So that's a second dimension that needs to be factored in. 3, since we're talking cross-border, obviously it's the linguistic barrier that sometimes means a no-go for an entity to go further in this process. So once we have these first three prerequisites somehow covered, checked, identified on time, and we understand at least linguistically what they want from us, we can move on. This is in Tenderio video that you have seen in the beginning. This is covered by the software. There are plenty of solutions out there on the market, free of charge, not free of charge, that help you to fine-tune your search and take into consideration these 3 elements. When we move on to the checkpoint number 4, which is eligibility, this is where we need to plug in human brain, as we say, and that's why we have the network of consultancies, pan-European network, which we contracted and which are with us to assist our clients and our companies that we would like to support. So what that really means is not to understand what is requested from the linguistic point of view, but from the actual content point of view, substance point of view. Do I have the right references? Do I have the right track record? Is my team capable of delivering what is needed? Do we have the necessary turnover, and so on and so on? Now, there is a decision time. When it comes to eligibility, you either have all these and you meet all the requirements, and in that case you can move on you can skip the green one, consortium, and you can go immediately to bid writing process, or you can come to the conclusion that your assessment is suggesting that, okay, maybe we have 70% or 50% of what is needed, but we still don't want to drop this opportunity. So in that case, what is often happening is that you team up with other partners, other companies, other research institutes that have that missing element, have that missing ability to nicely complement your team. And there you go, you build up consortium and enter the contest as a team, as a consortium. And of course, then there is a bid writing process. Essentially, it's about filling in the application form, financial offer, and then the submission. We will dive into these topics as in our presentation as we speak. So that's essentially the key components of what is at stake. Innocent, would you like to tell us something about national versus international dimension?
Sure. So we're going to look at the characteristics generally for national tenders and international tenders. For national tenders, here you ideally have a very good understanding of the market, a good understanding of the market, a good idea of who your competition may be, because you're all dealing or working in the same market. And then you have a very good command of the language that is spoken or written in that specific country. So in order for, during the Tenderio project, we managed to prepare 10 national guidelines for a number of countries. I think they include the United Kingdom, there's Ireland, there's Portugal, there's Slovakia, there's Latvia, there's Spain, and there's Estonia. So if you're from any of those specific countries, you can go to the Tenderio website and access some of these national guidelines that can give you some information relating to the procurement processes in those specific countries. Then when we shift to the international tenders, these usually represent a much larger market and have a set of unified rules for each and every arena that is that you'll be playing in. It may be the EU or European Commission, or it may be the United Nations or USAID. So a unified set of rules that every player wanting to play in that specific field ought to follow. In the EU specifically, they are majorly the communications that come out are usually in English, but if there is need, you can always ask for translation. And I think we've done this earlier or before for a client who required the translation of some tender notice, and this was done. And once it was done, it was later on the client was able to win the specific opportunity. And for international tenders, because they are large, they are much bigger in nature, they give you access to new markets. I also increase your specific network in the sense that in order to win them, you need to collaborate internationally in order to get them. So you get to increase your networks and also be able to expose yourself and the services that you offer to different people that may later on work with you in accessing other opportunities. Over to you, Robert.
Thank you. So how to actually find the right opportunity? Well, obviously, first of all of us need to have product or service or some type of innovation that you are offering. That's the first step, number one. Then, as you may recall the previous slide with the process, we need to really assess internally if you are eligible and if you have the needed capacities. So normally what it means, let's say in the EU arena, but this is widely applicable also tenders worldwide, we need to check if we actually pass the exclusion criteria, so-called. This is normally just a signature of the document, ticking the boxes that you are not in debt, that you paid your taxes, you're not bankrupted, there is no fraud or similar, you're not in fraud or similar conditions. That's really the basics. And then the second one, there are so-called selection criteria. So here we're looking at the economic and financial capacity. Normally, what is requested here is the balance sheet or loss and profit statements, annual turnover. What they are normally asking is checking if the profits or profit loss account is not negative. That's one thing. But now maybe there are some startups in our audience that obviously do not have the balance sheet yet because they've been set up just yesterday, if I exaggerate, or even like a couple months or a year ago, and these documents are not yet available. So what happens then is sometimes they can actually consider your previous track record outside of the company. This is actually what Pedal was doing back in the days around 2011, 2012. We could not yet prove our history before, but we could have proved the history of individuals working there, and they took it into consideration. And the second one, but that's a rule of thumb really, basically if you would like to apply for a tender of, let's say, just 1 million euros or 100,000 euros to make it more down to earth, then the average annual turnover for the past 3 years should be at least 150,000 euros. But again, that's a rule of thumb. But if you meet this requirement, you are, I think, quite good to go. You have good basis to move on to the next assessment criteria. Then, of course, like the most important is the technical and professional capacity. You know, this is where they're checking the team, references, networks, and of course the way how the methodology of your proposed solution, if this is required. Then what we should have as prerequisites is the documents and resources ready for the award criteria. So this is what I was mentioning about the fact that you need to demonstrate that you really understand what the donor would like to pay for, what they need, what their pain points are, and you put it nicely in the proposal. And we also need to submit credible methodology, because this is where the most points are either earned or lost. And obviously the quality assessment, that's I think compulsory part of I would say 100% of all EU at least tenders. What you could consider if you are a beginner in this game is to hire or partner with local tender consultants. And again, very interesting element here is to look at the history of previous winners. We'll be talking about it under secret strategies or proven techniques, stories, how to win tenders. But what Tenderio is offering, among others, is also benchmarking service, where you can nicely see who won, which type of tender, for how much, where were they from, and how many competitive proposals were submitted. And this gives you a quite good intelligence about what next move to make. Okay, so when it comes to the sources, there are, there is a jungle of sources really out there. We need to recognize two main groups. The first one are tenders which are so-called below thresholds. So those do not have to be published in EU official journal. Normally, you will find them in institutional homepages or in, let's say, developing countries, newspapers, and they are typically more difficult to track on systematic basis. But of course, if you're serious about it, there could be a process established around it. And then the best way really is to go, maybe what we are suggesting is Tenders Electronic Daily. That's a TED, which is a platform gathering all the tenders which are published in EU journal. Those are, you will certainly find all about threshold tenders there, but some countries also put below threshold as a good practice there. So I think that would be very good way to start. And now you will see also that typically you use different filters. You can go just like on Google or different search engine, going by keyword or by country or the sector, and then it gives you a nice list of who actually is looking to buy a product, service, or work or innovation that you are actually willing to sell. Okay, so when it comes to eligibility and capacity, I think I actually touched this, so I'm not going to spend more time about it. So it's always exclusion, selection, and award criteria. They are broken down here. And yes, as mentioned before, now we have, there is a decision time. Once you analyze the opportunity, you understood it, you either meet the requirements, start searching for and start writing the proposal. You either have another extreme that you say, okay, this is not for me. You just drop it and move on to the next tender that you will consider. Or there is a way in between that you don't really want to drop it because you believe in it, but you do not comply 100% with all the requirements there. And that this is the time to actually team up with someone else and submit a joint proposal in the form of a consortium. And that's another session. Innocent, would you like to dive into this topic, how to build a strong consortium?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So going back to the process that we had earlier on, you realize that after you've identified an opportunity, then you move to the point of identifying the opportunity in time in order for you to prepare to submit it. And then you understand the language, but then you check the eligibility criteria and you feel that there are some specific set of skills. There are some references that you need in order to participate in a specific opportunity, or there is a financial requirement that you need to participate in this specific opportunity that you ideally do not have as a single entity. Then it is not the end of the road for that specific opportunity. Within your specific network, you may know one or two organizations that may be well versed with the activities or the much needed capacities that you lack, that you could approach and team up with in order to submit a winning proposal. So it is always important that you identify the missing skills that you need, that you lack, and then you team up with someone who complements what you already have, and then work with them to that effect. And secondly, you have to identify if you're doing cross-border tendering, not from an international organization. Say you're an SME from Slovakia and you want to do business in Italy. It is always advisable that you team up with at least one person or one company within your consortium that comes from the country from where the tender has been published. This gives you a much higher competitive advantage to the competition. Then when looking out for candidates to team up with, you should always look out for those candidates that have implemented similar contracts before. And similar contracts before in this specific scale, we're talking about size and type of client. If you find someone who has implemented European Commission contracts over the past of the size of more than 150,000 euro, or for example, 1 million euro for the past 7 years, and you're trying to look for a partner to work with in order to win a 1 million euro European Commission contract, you always have to look for those that have references that match that specific criteria. And then you could always prepare a very good and interesting partner search proposal where you list down your much needed, the capacities that you have as an organization, and then you list down what you miss and list down information regarding the opportunity that you're interested in participating in. And then you introduce the aspect of where you need this specific partner to boost your specific application. And then such that within 1 or 2 pages of looking at this specific document, someone is attracted in joining your efforts to actually win this specific opportunity. We have a template for this for our USAID partner search efforts that we use, and it's usually quite straight to the point and quite very attractive. And most of the time we send it out. The people that we send it out usually join our efforts to participate in these different opportunities. Next slide, Robert. So you may want to ask yourself, after looking at the prerequisites, where then do we need to search and find the ideal candidates that we need for these specific opportunities? One, the first step you have to take, if you're looking at national tenders from your existing network of national partners, if you want to venture into international tenders, then you have to move and check within your existing network of international partners. The international partners that we're talking about here may range from people that you've done business with, people that you meet at co-creation events, or international fairs, or even people that you went to school with when you went to do your studies abroad, but are now participating or working in a specific field. This network of international national partners will either join your specific opportunity, or if it's not interesting for them or they are not able to join, we'll be able to recommend or introduce you to potential candidates that are relevant to the field that you're actually wanting to, that you actually want to participate, or that you're looking for a partner to participate with to apply for a specific opportunity. And then later on, you have to look at the benchmarking service to see who won in a similar opportunity before, and how much price did they charge, and what was actually the size of this specific opportunity that you actually want to participate into. And then lastly, you have to keep, it is quite important once you start the process of dealing with international partners, it is very important that you keep a database of partners that you work with, even for opportunities that you try and are not successful, because similar opportunities will show themselves in the future, and you always want to know who you dealt with at what point and could be relevant for this specific new opportunity that you've gotten. Next slide, Robert. Yes, then the other ones are LinkedIn groups, brokerage events, and all these different platforms that are currently available that you could take advantage of and be able to look for partners that you could work with in order to win in activities that you're participating in. Next slide, Robert. So the next steps, after you've identified the kind of partners that you want, you reach out to them through the different sources. Now the next steps are as follows. You always have to collect the inputs against the publicized criteria. So if they require specific CVs, project references, or work references, financials, and any specific information from the contracting authority that requires you to meet the eligibility criteria, then you engage your new partners to share them within a specific timeline in order for you to have enough time to prepare the tender document that you'll be using to bid. And then once you get that information, you always agree on the budget allocation and tasks. If you are interested in you're going to partner in the writing of the proposal or the bid, then you can allocate the tasks and then ask them for input if they're up to it. But usually our practice within Pedal Consulting is that once we identify an opportunity that we feel we're interested in and then invite people to join us, chances are high that we shall take on the burden of writing the entire proposal and share it with our partners to provide us input or for proofreading purposes. And this is usually one of the bargaining points. We'll be like, you are welcome to join us in the pursuit of this opportunity, but don't worry, we are going to write everything and prepare everything. You just come in at the point of implementation. And usually if you're giving someone an opportunity to get more work done and most likely earn some money from it without them burning more hours in preparing, chances are high that they will join you. And then you agree on deadlines on when specific work is supposed to be done. Then the aspect of the NDA comes in, especially for the first time you're actually participating with new partners. It's very important for you for the language in the NDA to be couched in a way that it reflects the work that you're actually going to do for that one specific opportunity. Because there are some partners in our experience that if you're not very successful, they want to drag you through the mud in order for you to work with them much longer than this specific opportunity. So it's very important that you write down, you make an agreement to the effect that you're collaborating for this specific opportunity. And once you collaborate with someone over a long period of time, like we have collaborated with some of our partners over long periods of time, then there is no need to continuously write an agreement for each and every time you're pursuing an opportunity. Next slide. Yes,
Okay,
over to you, Robert.
Yes, can you hear me still, Innocent?
Yeah.
Okay, Elo, do we have any questions in the chat box? I'm inviting also anyone to turn on the mic and ask in case there are questions. Don't
Yeah, there have been
hesitate.
questions, Robert, and I've been answering them as we go on.
Okay,
Right.
okay, great.
Exactly.
Fantastic. So, but anyways, if someone would like to ask anything like live, don't hesitate to chip in. So now, it's really a go time. Once you have time, you have the right opportunity, you have the right team, or you really can meet all the requirements. It's time to write the proposal. So it's a bit writing part. So how to prepare for this? Obviously, it is essential, but I'm always surprised how easy some partners are taking lightly. They are taking this. We really recommend to actually read line by line what is the tender about, and including the footnotes, and including the references to which the text is referring. And once you get this understanding, what should really happen is use the forms that are provided. It's not a rocket science. At the end of the day, it's really filling in the questionnaires or forms. So it's administrative part, it's the technical part, and it's the financial part. So the first one, the technical part, administrative part, that's all the like CVs and references, track record, maybe balance sheets, etc., that I mentioned in the beginning as prerequisites. The great news is that once you have this already organized, you are good to go also for the tender number 2, tender number 3, because these don't change. Of course, there will be some upgrades as the time passes by. But once you have all these documents in a one folder, it is almost to very large extent, to a very large degree, reusable in the next tender. Because let's face it, part of the strategy is to really recycle the previously submitted proposals. The most, in our opinion, challenging part, demanding part is indeed the technical tender, where the methodology needs to be presented, and the detailed work plan sometimes, and the quality assurance. So this is where the also creative writing comes into the equation. And the last, but certainly not the least, is the financial offer. Normally, it's an Excel sheet or preset form which needs to be filled in by numbers, normally signed by a legal signatory, and then you're good to go. So really, it's about using the right forms, and if needed, as Innocent said, if you're bidding outside of the country where you reside, consider teaming up also with local partner, even if you have all the references needed. Interesting element is the price setting. So let's dive into the financial part. Obviously, when you're giving your offer, you need to make sure that you're not actually losing money, unless it's your strategy, playing a long-term game, and you would like to put your foot in the door, knowing that this will be just first micro step, and the future opportunities, future tenders, future contracts are on the way. But our recommendation is what your break even is, and then you start playing how strategically important you want to go. Please bear in mind that majority of tenders have also the ceiling, the cap on it. So what the maximum recommended amount is. So if it's 150K, don't ask for 165. Really respect it. And then very interesting factor, important, is the actual ratio between quality and price. So to give you an idea, sometimes it's a 70% quality, 30% price element. So you see the weight of these two factors. Sometimes it's 80% quality, 20% price, 90% quality, 10% price. You do have still some tenders where they only take the most economically advantageous tender and they consider only price. But this is happening in very, very few cases when they basically specify super accurately what the product or service they want to buy. So just to give you an example, Ministry of Defense would like to purchase XYZ number of cell phones with these characteristics. So of course, if it's set like this, then price component plays the role. But this is really allowed only in a very limited number of cases and scenarios. And already, what we already mentioned on several occasions is indeed the benchmarking. You should know your market. You should, and this is, since we are in the public domain, this information is publicly available. It is not so easy to access in many cases, but it is out there. And if it's not out there, you have all the rights to actually ask the information. And the bottom line is, unless it's classified tender, we should know who won the tender, which organization, what is their address. You should also know when you are in EU arena, like how many proposals were submitted in that particular tender. This gives you an idea of the competition. Is it 2, 3 competitors, or is it 11, 12? Another often publicly available information is if there are subcontractors involved, because you may enter the world of tenders also first as a subcontractor, not as a prime contractor or a consortium partner. And you also know what is the size of the winning offer. So that gives you an idea of, okay, am I able to go under or not? You do not need to, but again, all these are somehow factored in this mental process. So in a majority of cases, that's just a technical side note, but it's important. Financial offer is presented in a separate envelope. If it's a printed tender, actually, it still happens, even though now majority of tenders are submitted electronically, or they are sent in a separate email, or they are, let's say, you cannot open it, and they only when they ask you that you made it to the very last stage of the tender, they ask you to send them a password to open it. So they don't want to look at it until the time comes. Okay, I already explained the benchmarking part, so I don't think we need to go into deep here anymore. Evaluation criteria. So evaluation criteria, there are macro categories and also subcategories. What we should, we mentioned the quality versus price. In the majority of cases, again, what is good is that you receive so-called evaluation summary report, and you see how you scored on each and every criterion. So you have also room for learning, and then when you would like to present again new tender in the framework of new opportunity, you know where you have a room for improvement. Okay. Also, interesting enough to know that when the RFP is published or call for tender is published, it is published together with so-called model contract agreement. So this gives you an idea of, in case you are successful, in case you are invited to sign the contract, what type of contract you will be actually asked to sign. There is, of course, room for maneuver, room for negotiation in some cases. But here you will see upfront what type of conditions you will be asked to follow, and this includes also pre-financing arrangements. If it's in case of framework contract, what is the duration, or what type of renewal procedure there is, etc. What type of governing law we are going to be following. That's also important in order to fully get the picture of what is actually ahead of you in case you are successful. Right, and now my favorite topic. We call it a little bit cheesy title, Secret Strategies on Winning a Tender Abroad. Before we dive into that, do we have any questions in the chat box, or would anyone like to ask anything?
No, we have no question in the chat box unless someone wants to ask something. We can go on here. We're going to go back to back until we finish the proposal with the presentation. Sorry, there are many proposals that we are working on lately, so it's always lingering in my head. So Robert, let me start.
Yeah, let's go.
Yes, so submission of an expression of interest. So every time a contracting authority publishes an expression of interest, you realize that this is more likely to be a two-stage process for this specific tender or proposal. And the reason as to why they always publish an expression of interest is to check whether the market or the service providers in the market have the much needed capacities required to execute a specific set of work that the contracting authority wants done. So they usually publish the expression of interest, majorly asking you to present the solution to a specified problem that they have in a very brief and targeted manner, and then probably ask you for a set of project references that you can show that you've done similar work before, and then later on also maybe present a list of CVs of people within your specific organization that have the capacity to execute this specific work. So upon collecting all that specific information, the contracting authority will look through all the people that have submitted an expression of interest and then shortlist a number of them. If there have been 20 submissions, they can shortlist about 8 of them. And upon shortlisting the 8 of them, they'll be invited to participate in a tender. And at this specific point is once you've been invited to participate in a tender, that is when you'll be asked to give a much bigger proposal on how you're going to solve this specific problem, or that is when you give a much more detailed proposal. And in this, the reason as to why we put the process, as Robert had explained, is that the process regurgitates throughout the entire tendering journey, in a sense that you identify the expression of interest and then go through the time at the right time in the language that you can easily understand, and where possible you can sometimes respond to an expression of interest in consortium with other partners, because usually the rule of the thumb is that once you've been shortlisted and invited to participate in a tender, you're not allowed again to form a consortium upon being shortlisted. So if you're to form a consortium, you form a consortium before participating in or responding to an expression of interest. So,
if I may maybe present like a true story, what happened to us and how we managed to win this. Basically, a couple of years ago, there was there's someone joining. There was a tender published by EFSA, European Food Safety Authority, located in Parma. And at that time, it was a expression of interest for parties delivering a contact media database. Now, frankly speaking, Pedal Consulting, our company, is not an expert in this particular field, but we were like, okay, let's give it a try. We don't know what it is about because it was just very generic, 2-pager. We're like, okay, let's just fill in this form. We formally express the interest to participate. 2 weeks later, we receive an invitation to participate in a tender, which is a second stage. And in that invitation, it was really clearly stated that only partners or only bidders that participated in expression of interest are allowed to submit proposal. But what we are also allowed to do is find a submit proposal with subcontractors. So basically what happened is that we looked on the market who has the, in our opinion, the most efficient, competitive solution out there. And we found that player. And since they have not participated in expression of interest, they could not participate themselves, even though it would be the great opportunity for them. We contracted them. We entered as a prime contractor, Pedal Consulting, upon the invitation to join tender. And they're the subcontractors, which actually delivered the entire, almost the entire solution. And we managed to secure it. It was a framework contract, 4 years. This is the 4th year. It's ending. It's going smoothly, but that's just how it happened. So be aware of it. That's our message.
Yeah, definitely. Over to you, Robert.
Thank you. So, okay, we mentioned benchmarking surveys really on several occasions, simply because it is all about data. At the end of the day, we need to make a rational decision which calls are going to be maybe less competitive, which are going to be super competitive, but we are striving to win it anyways. And because we are in the public domain, it's public money, it's publicly scrutinized, information is out there, even though in many cases it is really difficult to find, but you have full right to understand what is this market about, how much is spent on each and every sector, which buyer, which ministry, which organization, which DG, which agency is spending the most money on what. And this is per se, if you study this, you see patterns, you see trends. And we heavily invite you to look at this. And again, in Tenderio, we do have a benchmarking tool. You just tell us what sector you are, and we give you a sample of previously awarded tenders where you can see and follow what your potential market is. After this, I will only repeat that we have still, I think, 8 seats available for all NGI beneficiaries who can benefit from this subscription, completely free of charge for 6 months, having the full guidance on how to enter a public contract. So we will be sharing a link with you. All you need is just fill in the expression of interest. I don't think it will take you more than 5 minutes, and then we will assess it very quickly and come back to you.
Sure.
Okay, that's a benchmarking service. What's next, Innocent?
Yeah, so Robert really pointed out this in the previous slide, and this usually for price quality ratio. Sometimes the price sometimes notices come out and the price has a much bigger weight than actually the quality. So usually, if you're able to provide a competitive, fairer price than the competition, you manage to win the day. So you can always look out for this specific kind of calls and then submit. You should be able to quote a price that will not take you under. You quote a price that you are able to deliver extremely quality services for the price that you're quoting for that specific opportunity. And this specific price quality ratio is usually done for countries from lower income countries, where the financial offer usually is of much greater weight than the technical offer. But then usually it's very advisable that even when the financial offer is of greater weight, you're able to deliver high quality services, because later on, you'll be able to use this specific opportunity, your tender or bid, as a project reference to your future bids. And if your technical ability to provide those services was wanting, then it may be able to affect you in future applications. The next slide.
If I may, true story number 2. I think we're in 2015. We're just starting looking around and understanding what type of tenders Pedal Consulting could actually address as a prime contractor, because up until then we were majorly preparing proposals for third parties, for our clients. And there was this interesting tender published by DG Connect, establishment of Startup Europe platform or partnership, and helping them to steer the startup ecosystem environment. And the price ratio at that time was really 60% quality and 40% price. And us being in the beginning of the journey, we still are, but we could really afford of being competitive in this area. So we, to be honest, we barely made it through the threshold of quality, but we were able to, at that time, being located in Slovakia, to submit a financial offer, which was still credible, but quite low compared to other offers. So because of that ratio, we actually climbed on the back of those who scored more on the quality element, and we managed to secure it. So it's interesting. It's important to watch what the price ratio is and where you're acting. Are you more going for the high-end product, or are you maybe from the country where it makes sense to also go with the price? Of course, quality has the major component, but at what cost? All right, so consortium-based approach. Now, this is also what we often do. I trust that all of you have inner circles of companies, contracts, friends in your respective networks that you already done business with, or you definitely would like to do business with. So what we do, we form a nucleus of 3, 4, 5 companies that already have the references ready. There is a high level of trust among us. We know what to expect, and we know what type of complementarity are among them, among us. As soon as a relevant opportunity is detected, what we do is just get that one missing piece of reference, or 2 maximum, from the domain in which we do not necessarily operate, and get that 1 or 2 new partners in already formed consortium, pre-cooked team, and we beat the competition by a far, because we already have the momentum build up, we have the references in place, and all we need to do is just get on the same page with the newcomer. This consortium-based approach was validated and successful on many occasions in the tender world and also in the grant world. And I believe it's an asset to have this nucleus of partners, your companies that you really would like to collaborate long term. And we believe that it is a valid approach, the consortium-based approach. There you go, Innocent.
Then teaming up with large companies. This is related to what I was explaining about a little bit earlier, that most of the times whereby you identify an opportunity and you know that individually you can't go at it, have a successful go at it, but then you know that if you teamed up with a specific large player in that specific field, you'd have a chance, a fighting chance, and actually a winning chance to win. So here, the script for us at PEDO was that we identify an opportunity, knock on the door of these large companies over and over again. Once they give us an ear, we'll let them know that, wait, look here, there's this specific opportunity that you didn't see about, and we feel that if we partner with you, we shall be able to win this specific opportunity. We shall share the budget as follows, and we shall also take on the burden of writing the entire proposal. And all you have to do is to give us your specific information related to probably your former project references, your financials, your annual activity reports, and also activities related to your future activities related to your future plans and aspirations. So we get that specific information, develop an entire bid or proposal, and bid. And this is usually one of the ways that you could actually leverage on the experience and the networks and the work that has already been done by larger organizations in order to position yourself to be successful in bids. or in proposals. Robert, next slide.
Yes, thanks. Then another angle of addressing the relevant opportunities is replying to very like strategically positioned or oriented tenders. So, for instance, this is just again from our experience, green procurement tenders. So, you know, since they demand a certain ecological or environmentally friendly features or effects, you are also automatically somehow, if you have these references, ahead of the competition. So it is usually proved by certification of inbuilt materials, for instance, components, equipment, or provided by manufacturers. So problems for SMEs arise when tenderers, for instance, are asked to different certifications, for instance, and again, this puts you in quote unquote elite club of bidders that have this specific reference, this specific certification, for instance. So you are competing against, let's say, in principle, in theory, much fewer or much lower number of potential competitors. So if you, in other words, to put this, if you go for very specific niche-oriented tenders that request niche reference, it can be financial reference, but also let's say certification standards. This is and once you have it, then I think it's a very good prerequisite for you to apply. Okay, so over to you, Innocent. Next one.
Bidding for contracts from international organizations. So I don't know if we pointed out this earlier, that in the new framework program of the European Commission, and that is, for example, the Horizon Europe program, framework program that is currently running from 2021 to 2027, the European Commission has put aside over 200 billion euro to fund different projects that will be funded under this specific program. On the other side, bidding for contracts from international organizations, these specific organizations, be the World Bank, the IMF, the United Nations, and related organizations. These organizations have an average of more than $100 billion per year for you to be able to, that is available for you to participate in and actually be able to win. So, and you'll be amazed that because these specific organizations have a global outlook and global reach, that the solution that you have managed to prepare or come up with to solve specific problems in Europe, for example, there could be specific calls from the World Bank, United Nations, or United Nations organizations that want to use or pilot some of those solutions that you prepared for Europe in other far-to-reach areas, for example, Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, and also the Far East. Yeah. So there are always those opportunities where you could respond to these specific calls for proposals or tenders from these big international organizations that you could take advantage of and be able to win and expand not only the impact of your specific solution, but also going a step higher and be able to earn quite a reasonable amount of money from those specific efforts. Next slide, Robert. I think, yes.
Okay, so we're getting towards the end of our presentation. I think this is the last set of information before the Q&A. But still, I ask again, if there are any partners who would like to chip in and ask anything or comment on their experience, feel free to do so. Okay, so then let's have a look at the tips to maximize your chances of winning a tender abroad. So first of all, well, we're providing tips and tricks. Obviously, we need to be informed and proactive. So read all the documents that are associated with the entire package of the questions. Also understand the basic procurement rules that are applied that apply per your organization and per the country. For instance, if it's a country specific. Look at the project history, also like normally when you have a tender published, there is very high chance that it's just maybe continuation of a previous contract. So you should be able to understand who delivered something similar before or something identical before, because you can study the patterns better and you can also identify what they have not been doing as well as you may be doing. It is really important to see the history. And you should also respond to general procurement notices that the public donor, whenever they are out there published. And there are also strategic consideration, Innocent, if you would like to highlight them.
Sure. So strategic considerations here mean that you ought to be selective and not go for each and every opportunity that you see. And sometimes you may consider focusing on smaller assignments that are given to you by way of direct selection or selection from the shortlist, which has been created out of the result of an expression of interest. So usually these are contracts or assignments that are awarded to you by way of direct selection or selection of on a shortlist give you a headway into establishing a track record of project references that you can always be able to demonstrate your excellence of the services that you offer, and then you can then later on be able to participate in much larger assignments or opportunities. Then further, you must have a competitive or comparative advantage over the rest of the competition. You must have that specific aspect that makes you stand out from the crowd and makes you the star that you actually are. And this usually comes from understanding the product or service that you offer, knowing it like the back of your hand, and being able to demonstrate to the contracting authority that the specific service that you offer is the best suited solution to the problem that they are facing, and it is in line with their present and future aspirations as a company, organization, or large corporation at large. Then secondly, you have to assess the level of competition that you're competing with. This is where the aspect of benchmarking comes in. If there was a company that won a similar opportunity in the past, are they participating in this other same opportunity, or it is some other organization that is doing it? Then the first one of being of getting opportunity to participate in smaller assignments via direct selection goes hand in hand in attending and participating actively and being proactive in networking, industry-specific networking events. Here, once given an opportunity to demonstrate the work or service that your specific organization does, then you are able to show most people within your network the capabilities of your specific organization, which then can be used. Someone from your network can then use that specific information to reach out to you to give you a direct selection to execute a specific job for them. Next slide, Robert.
Yes, so another hints and tips for strategy for winning contracts. So particularly for competitive selection, review the documents early and submit the question in writing. That's the important part, because you can be disqualified as soon as you're trying to trying to reach the person on the phone or in a face-to-face meeting, because that can be considered as fraudulent behavior. ensure you meet the minimum requirements. So it goes back to basically square number one. Consider joining forces, again, consortia. Even if you can do it yourself, ask yourself, how would additional partner bring extra points to my offer? Because that can always, as it is already known, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, team up with strong partners. No, logistics. This is super important because sometimes there are also other third parties involved in the preparation of the proposal. Sometimes you need to translate your offer. Sometimes you need to make sure that it is sent on time. So you plan the logistic, the printing and putting all together, because it really does take even one day to, in case of printed tenders, you need to have one original, 3 hard copies, and it becomes heavy parcel to be shipped to the donor. So all these needs to be planned in advance. And also, like, yes, be realistic. So can your company match the evaluation criteria? If not, the same old story, consider subcontracting or teaming up with the consortium experts. Innocent, over to you.
Yeah, so then this is very important that when you're, upon writing your entire proposal, try to look at it, or bid response, try to look at it from the evaluator's perspective. The key is always to enable the evaluator to quickly and easily find and assess the relevant information that is necessary for that specific opportunity. As you write, make sure that you show and you don't tell. Make sure that you demonstrate how your specific solution is able to particularly solve the problem that the contracting authority is facing, and not just tell them that, you know, you have this problem, we can solve it, but you don't demonstrate how you can be able to solve it. Then be able to, in your writing, be able to demonstrate to the evaluation committee that you are someone that they can actually work with. Have put in an attitude or that vibe that can let them know that you are someone who is ready to interact with them and know what specific solution, what specific problem that they are facing, and then demonstrate to them how you can be able to participate. Usually we in our methodologies, we put in a specific step whereby we do a needs assessment to ascertain what is currently on the market. And if we identify what is currently on the market and probably what is missing, and then we demonstrate to the contracting authority that we shall be able to reinforce on what is missing and make ourselves much more competitive than the rest. And then we can move on to, are you able to assess your firm's strength in compliance with the evaluation criteria? Here you have to definitely look and submit and be able to submit documents that are tailored, which means they must be tailored to the specific evaluation criteria or notice that has been given. They must be focused in a sense that all the key points that have been put in the notice under the evaluation criteria have been addressed. Then they also have to be concise and consistent, whereby if someone is to read through the entire proposal that you're trying to give to them, they can see that everything really matches to the letter, and then they ought to be accessible. Usually it's advised that you put the documents in a portable document format, that's a PDF file, because it's easier to read and it's and does not have a lot of clutter. So, and if possible, the more concise, the better. Concise and straight to the point, the better. And yes, and then in the next slide, you're going to see how to submit a top-notch and finalize a top-notch proposal. Over to you, Robert.
So I believe that by now it's really a common sense almost for our audience today. Obviously, check the submission requirements in a procurement notice. Then understand, give an indication of contracting parties. If they're clients or consultants. What is your role if you are leading the entire consortium, or your consortium partner, or your subcontractor? Define very specifically the time frame within which you will be preparing the proposal, and focus on the concrete experience. And yes, I will maybe repeat what Innocent already said. At the end, on the other side of the evaluation table, let's say there are humans again. So we want to make it easily digestible, and if possible, really put a little bit of own DNA into the text, and make it also visually appealing. But there are also big don'ts that should not appear, or what should be really avoided at all times. And Innocent, if you can go also briefly through the list.
So the big don'ts are usually things that people take for granted, but then they may usually affect your eligibility to participate in a specific opportunity. One is that do not submit a financial offer where the selection is based on quality. That is quite clear. And then when dealing with proposals or tenders that have a two-stage process, do not submit the financial offer in the first stage of the process. That is either in the expression of expression of interest, or request in the RFI, request for interest. Then further, if you find out that your firm is not eligible to participate in a specific opportunity, please do not insist and waste your much needed time in trying to fix yourself in a place where you're not eligible. In the alternative, channel your efforts in finding people or partners that could complement your abilities in order for you to be able to win an opportunity with them. Then do not include unavailable experts to execute the work in your technical proposals. Do not submit late, because if you try to submit late, you may have technical glitches. And these days, the contracting authorities are quite wise, in quotes, in a sense that they say that if you submit late and there are glitches in your submission, the duty of care is not on them. It is on you. So they usually tell you to submit earlier, and then do not communicate with the client outside the regulated channels. I think Robert explained this a little bit earlier. Usually, if they submit a procurement notice requiring a specific set of services, they could put a time within which you can ask for clarifications and more information about a specific opportunity. And once you move outside that specific time that they have put, you may be disqualified for trying for undue influence. Then where there exists a conflict of interest, it's important that you declare it in order for the evaluators to know upfront. And where they have not sought more than one solution to a specific problem, please stick to one and keep it that way. And where you're supposed to respond to a specific proposal or bid following a specific set of templates that have been granted by the contracting authority, please do not change the templates. Even when you have a lot of experience and have worked with very many different templates, stick to the templates that have been put in the general procurement notice and use them, and have realistic budget expectations. Do not overprice beyond the maximum tender or proposal amount that has been published, and do not underprice, because sometimes it may be totally unrealistic that you can do a €1 million solution for a 5,000 euro budget. So ideally, those are the big don'ts to avoid at all times. And yeah, and probably that's the end of our presentation this afternoon. And we hope that if you have any specific questions, you bring them up.
Yeah, what I would like to again mention that Elo, if I can kindly ask you to circulate the link to all our participants where they can apply for Tenderio Plus package, because there they will not there you will get basically exclusive access to Tenderio Plus activities, which include the entire activities that we described today. So search engine, notifications, mentoring, access to the help desk, and in the period of 6 months, you will be able to really increase your capacities in how to apply in the most competitive way for tenders abroad.
Yes, I will share with everyone after the webinar via email.
Okay, great. Thank you. So now, just wondering if there are still some questions. We've been going for 90 minutes now. So really, we are there for you either now or after, if you prefer to discuss something bilaterally. We are there for you.
If I may, have a quick question concerning possible management of risk if some of the consortium doesn't deliver, if we are kind of the lead in the consortium and one of the partners which we haven't worked before, for instance, delivers or under-delivers or delays delivery, what in your experience is a set of most appropriate risk mitigation strategies?
Mm-hmm. Dimitar, this is thank you for your question, which is a question where you really outline the challenge that happens in a real time. We are ourselves, unfortunately, in the consortium where we have a so-called silent partners, or to put it bluntly, underperforming partner. And what is good normally is that we do sign consortium agreement where we really stipulate in detail what happens if this type of situation occurs. So it's basically as in any job employment, you have some sort of warnings until you hit the final stage where either you as a leading partner or consortium, depending on how the contract is stipulated, actually call this underperforming partner a defaulting party, which means that they will have to, in extreme case, leave the consortium, and you will be able to get on board maybe someone who has a higher level of trust. But that's of course the worst case scenario. The best way is not to focus on this element, but actually on the precautions, and that's where you do your proper due diligence in case you are inviting to your team a partner that you haven't worked with. It's really worth to check, maybe through a trusted source, through a third party, if your preferred candidate is going to be the right one. But it's like every marriage, basically the way to avoid it would be to get to know that company, that entity, as much as possible prior to submitting proposal. And even if you have high level of trust, we always recommend to have a sort of consortium agreement on top of grant agreement that you will sign with the donor. I don't know if I answered your question. We can definitely go deeper.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks to you. Okay, are there any other questions? No. Okay, so I guess in that case, Ella, over to you. Thank you all for staying with us.
Yes, so thank you first to our speakers. I think it was a great webinar. I hope that everyone enjoyed it, and I will follow up with an email with the link. And I would also kindly ask to give us some feedback. So I will put the link to the feedback form in the chat, and it just takes a couple of minutes. You can just rate the webinar, like if it was good or how you liked it. It really doesn't take a lot of time, but it helps us to improve our webinars. But yeah, then thank you to everyone for participating from my side, and we can finish for today. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.